There's a moment in every life when the ground cracks open, when everything you thought was secure begins to tremble. You lose the job you counted on. The person you trusted disappears. The plan you built your identity around dissolves overnight. And you whisper to yourself, why now? Why me? But what if the breaking wasn't punishment, but permission? What if every crisis is a divine opening disguised as loss? Before we go deeper, I want you to do something small, but powerful. In the comments, write a phrase that reflects what your soul needs to declare right now. Something like, I'm ready to turn my crisis into growth, or I choose to rise again. Don't overthink it, just let it flow from your heart. Because when you declare words publicly, you aren't just typing sentences, you're setting frequencies in motion. Ancient mystics believed that when one soul speaks transformation aloud, others unconsciously begin to vibrate with the same energy. You see, in Jewish wisdom, a crisis isn't random. The word nisayon, which means trial or test, also implies elevation. The test doesn't come to crush you, it comes to measure how high you can climb. Life doesn't break you to punish you, it breaks you to reveal what's unbreakable inside you. I've seen this truth repeat again and again. The people who rise from ruins aren't the ones who avoid pain, they're the ones who speak differently inside it. They treat their words like sacred tools, not emotional outbursts. Because in Hebrew, davar means both word and thing. Every word you speak becomes a thing in your world. So if you tell yourself, this is the end, the story closes. But if you whisper, something new is beginning, creation starts again. The universe listens. The unseen rearranges. That's why this conversation matters so deeply. Because over the next few minutes, we're going to uncover an ancient key hidden in Jewish wisdom, a principle so powerful that it can turn your lowest valley into the beginning of your ascent. It's not about blind faith. It's not about pretending the pain isn't real. It's about seeing crisis through a different lens, one that reveals the divine architecture behind what feels like chaos. So take a breath. You've already survived the hardest parts. What comes next is understanding why it happened and how to use it. Because if you can learn to see crisis not as destruction, but as divine rearrangement, then you'll never fear another storm again. And in the next chapter, I'll show you exactly how this ancient wisdom reframes suffering, not as punishment, but as the most sacred invitation life can offer. In the language of Jewish mysticism, every crisis hides a secret name of God. Every loss, every heartbreak, every collapse is a message written in invisible ink. But the ink only appears when you hold it close to the fire, when you dare to bring pain into the light of awareness. Our ancestors didn't see crisis as chaos. They saw it as divine choreography. The Hebrew word nisayon doesn't just mean test. It means an opportunity to elevate. A crisis, then, is not punishment. It's preparation. The collapse isn't an ending. It's an opening. Think of tzimtzum, a mystical idea from Kabbalah that describes the moment before creation itself. God, infinite and boundless, contracted his presence to create space for the world to exist. In other words, God created by stepping back. Absence made room for emergence. And that's exactly what happens to us during crisis. The divine energy withdraws just enough to give us the freedom to build something new. When you feel abandoned, you're actually being trusted with creation. The silence isn't rejection, it's invitation. The emptiness you feel is the sacred space where new light will be born, but only if you can stay conscious long enough to see it. Most people, though, mistake the silence for punishment. They panic, rush to fill the void with noise, distraction, comfort. They fight the darkness instead of listening to it. But ancient wisdom says, do not flee the void. It is the womb of new worlds. I remember my teacher telling me, when your plans collapse, it's because your soul outgrew them. That sentence changed everything for me. It turned failure into revelation. Every time something fell apart, I began asking a new question. Not, what did I lose? But what space has just opened? Because here's the paradox. Crisis is contraction, but contraction always precedes birth. Think of labor pains. Pressure, intensity, then release. The same pattern governs spiritual life. It's written into the fabric of creation itself. So when you find yourself in darkness, don't rush to escape it. Ask what it's trying to expand within you. Ask what version of yourself is being born through this pressure. Because you are not being broken, you are being reshaped. And once you begin to see this, fear starts to lose its grip. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to make of me?" That shift, small but profound, changes everything. But there's a danger here too. Once you start seeing meaning in your suffering, another trap waits just ahead. It's subtle and seductive, and almost everyone falls into it at least once. It's the belief that crisis is punishment, that you must have done something wrong to deserve it. In the next chapter, we'll expose why that belief quietly destroys resilience, and what the ancient texts reveal instead. The first trap most of us fall into is believing that crisis means punishment. When something collapses, your relationship, your health, your sense of direction, the mind rushes to find fault. I must have done something wrong. It's the ancient echo of guilt, a voice that whispers, "You're paying for something." But that voice is not divine. It's the echo of fear. In Jewish wisdom, punishment and correction are not the same. The Creator does not crush to destroy. He compresses to refine. Like a diamond that only shines after immense pressure, the soul too is polished through resistance. The pain isn't the proof of divine anger. It's the evidence of divine investment. The Torah is full of this paradox. Moses, chosen by God, faces endless trials. Joseph, destined for greatness, is thrown into a pit and sold as a slave. King David, beloved by heaven, spends years hiding in caves. Each story screams the same truth. Crisis doesn't mean you've fallen out of favor. It means you're being shaped for a higher purpose. But we resist this idea because it offends our sense of control. We want a world where good deeds guarantee good days. Yet reality doesn't work like that, because growth doesn't come from ease. It comes from friction. The challenge isn't divine cruelty. It's divine calibration. I remember once hearing a rabbi say, "When God hides his face, he's inviting you to seek his eyes." That's what crisis really is, a call to seek. Not to beg, but to look deeper, wider, further than before. Let me tell you about Eliav, a merchant from my grandfather's village. He was known for his success, his generosity, and his pride. One year, a fire consumed everything he owned. He stood before the ashes of his warehouse, trembling. For 3 days, he spoke no words. On the 4th day, he said quietly, "Perhaps the fire was mercy in disguise." Months later, when rebuilding, he discovered that the old structure had been infested with rot. It would have collapsed within the year. The loss had saved his life. That's how divine correction works. It burns what cannot sustain your future. The problem is that when we label it punishment, we close ourselves off from its purpose. We stop asking questions and start building walls. So here's what I want you to hold. What feels like divine wrath may actually be divine realignment. The universe isn't angry, it's precise. And once you see that, you begin to read your pain like scripture. But be careful. There's another trap, one that wears a gentler mask. It's not fear this time, but false humility. It whispers, "Just accept your fate and stop trying." And though it sounds holy, it's the quiet death of your purpose. In the next chapter, we'll uncover why surrender, when misunderstood, becomes stagnation, and how to keep your spirit moving even when you're on your knees. There's a thin line between surrender and stagnation, and most people cross it without realizing. When life knocks them down, they tell themselves they're accepting God's will, but what they're really doing is giving up. They confuse peace with paralysis, faith with fear, patience with passivity, and that confusion quietly kills their momentum. In Jewish thought, surrender is sacred, but only when it's active. True surrender isn't resignation, it's alignment. It's saying, "I trust that this situation holds purpose, and I will keep moving until I find it." That's very different from saying, "I guess this is my fate." One keeps the soul awake, the other puts it to sleep. The mystics used a powerful metaphor to describe this. the seed buried in the soil. From the outside, it looks like death, darkness, pressure, stillness. But inside something is happening. The seed isn't surrendering to decay, it's surrendering to transformation. It's breaking so it can sprout. That's what real faith looks like. It doesn't deny the soil, it uses it. I've seen people mistake stillness for spirituality. They say, "I'm waiting for a sign," when what they're really doing is avoiding the next step. But in the Talmud, there's a phrase, "In every place where you find God's greatness, you also find His humility." Meaning, divine presence doesn't just dwell in heaven. It meets you in the movement of your hands, the small, imperfect actions that honor your faith. Faith isn't sitting in silence. It's walking through uncertainty with your eyes open. It's cooking a meal, sending a letter, rebuilding what broke, even when you don't yet see the outcome. The Kabbalists called this emuna b'ma'aseh, faith through doing. It's the kind of trust that doesn't wait for miracles because it knows movement itself is the miracle. I remember when I lost everything, my savings, my work, my sense of who I was. I sat for days thinking, maybe this is where God wants me, to be still. But the truth came softly one morning. Stillness was my fear wearing a mask. The moment I took one small action, writing again, reaching out to someone, giving even a little, the current shifted. The door that had been closed began to open just slightly. That's when I understood. Surrender doesn't mean staying buried. It means trusting that growth will come but still pushing through the soil. So ask yourself, where have you stopped moving and called it peace? Which parts of your life are you waiting to change instead of walking toward? The seed doesn't wait for light, it grows until it finds it. And yet even those who learn to move again can still unknowingly block abundance. Not with their actions this time, but with their words. Because there's a law woven into creation itself. What you speak, you summon. And in the next chapter, we'll uncover how ancient Jewish wisdom reveals the power of words to turn crisis into wealth, or to keep it forever out of reach. In Hebrew, there is no clear boundary between word and reality. The word davar means both word and thing, as if language itself were the fabric from which the world is woven. The ancient sages taught that the universe wasn't built with stone or fire, but with speech. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Creation began not with action but with articulation. That means every word you speak shapes your reality in miniature. Your sentences are blueprints. Your language sketches the architecture of your future. When you speak despair, you build walls around yourself. When you speak gratitude, you open windows to the divine. I didn't understand this until I heard a rabbi say, "Words are ladders or graves, nothing in between." It was poetic, but I didn't believe it until I saw it happen in my own life. After a long season of struggle, I noticed how often I said things like, "Nothing ever works out for me," or "I'm just unlucky." Those phrases felt harmless, but they were quietly writing my destiny. My world kept shrinking to match the words I chose. Then I began experimenting with new language. Instead of saying, "I'm tired of fighting," I said, "I'm grateful to still have strength." Instead of, "I can't take this anymore," I whispered, "Something good is forming through this." Within weeks, opportunities appeared that hadn't existed before. Small coincidences at first, then unmistakable openings. Modern science calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reshape itself through repeated thoughts and words. Ancient mystics called it the power of dibur, creative speech. 2 languages, 1 truth. What you repeatedly say, you eventually become. That's why Jewish tradition guards speech so carefully. Gossip, complaint, self-deprecation, they're treated not as harmless habits, but as forms of spiritual sabotage. Each word you release becomes a messenger, carrying your energy into the world and returning with echoes of the same. Speak scarcity, and scarcity echoes back. Speak gratitude, and blessing finds its way home. But there's one phrase more dangerous than any curse because it hides behind innocence. It's a sentence almost everyone says. Without realizing, it blocks every form of abundance. A phrase that looks humble but signals heaven that you've stopped asking, stopped expecting, stopped growing. It's not blasphemy, it's not anger. It's the quiet resignation of two simple words. Words you've probably spoken this week without thinking. And if you keep saying them, no matter how hard you work or how much you pray, you'll find yourself trapped in the same cycle again and again. In the next chapter, I'll tell you exactly what those words are and why. The moment you stop saying them, your life begins to change. The phrase that quietly closes the gates of blessing is simple. It's fine. Two short words that sound harmless, even polite, but spiritually they signal surrender in the wrong direction. When you say it's fine about things that aren't, you tell the universe that you no longer expect transformation. You teach your soul to settle. I used to say it all the time. When people asked how I was doing after loss or failure, I'd smile and answer, "It's fine." I thought I was being strong. I thought I was being humble. But the truth is, I was building a prison out of silence. My words became walls that locked me away from help, from healing, from heaven itself. In Jewish teaching, fullness stops the flow. The Talmud warns, the full vessel cannot receive. When you declare yourself fine, you declare yourself full, unavailable for renewal. Spiritually, you close the channel that allows divine energy to move through you. Psychologically, it's the same. The moment you say, "I'm fine," your brain stops releasing the signals that trigger growth. It interprets that phrase as completion. No need to change, no need to search, no need to heal. The process freezes. Your pain doesn't vanish, it hardens. But what would happen if, instead of "I'm fine," you said, "I'm learning," or "I'm growing"? Those small shifts reopen the current. They invite possibility back in. They admit that something is still unfolding, and that acknowledgement allows movement again. Because the divine cannot fill what denies its emptiness. My great-grandfather used to tell a story about a farmer who prayed every morning for rain but never tilled his soil. When asked why, he said, "Because the ground's already fine." The rain came, but nothing grew. Heaven responded, but there was no space for it to take root. That's what happens to us when we speak false wholeness. We keep praying for change while defending the illusion that we don't need it. So let me ask you, where in your life have you been saying, "It's fine" when it's not? Where have you silenced your need to appear calm? Healing begins the moment you stop pretending. And here's the miracle. The universe doesn't punish honesty, it rushes toward it. The moment you tell the truth about your emptiness, grace finds you. Doors open, the right people appear. Light begins to seep through the cracks. But words of truth alone aren't enough. They're the beginning, not the destination. Once you stop saying "it's fine," you need something to replace it, a formula, a rhythm that turns pain into momentum. Because while false words block abundance, sacred words create it. And in the next chapter, I'll reveal the three-step formula, rooted in ancient Jewish wisdom, that transforms crisis into wealth and despair into growth. There is a formula older than time itself, 3 steps hidden in the rhythm of creation, whispered by sages for generations. It's simple enough to memorize, but powerful enough to rebuild a life. Gratitude, action, expansion. 3 words that turn crisis into movement, movement into growth, and growth into abundance. The first step, gratitude, is the ignition point. Not the hollow kind that denies pain, but the fierce kind that thanks the Creator in the middle of the storm. In Hebrew, the morning prayer begins with Modeh Ani, I thank you. It's the very first breath after waking, said before anything else. Gratitude is a declaration that even though I'm not where I want to be, I still have what I need to begin again. It shifts your frequency from scarcity to sufficiency. It opens the gate. The second step is action. Words alone are seeds, but they need motion to take root. The Torah begins with divine speech followed by divine doing, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Even God acts on his own words. When you move, no matter how small the step, you activate blessing. It can be sending a message, taking a walk, organizing a plan. Movement is prayer with your feet. And the third step is expansion. Once gratitude aligns you and action activates you, expansion becomes inevitable. It's not something you chase, it's something you allow. The Talmud says, "One who is joyful with his portion brings blessing upon the world." Expansion is the natural result of energy flowing through you without obstruction. When you live this formula, you become a conduit, not a container. But how do you bring it into daily life? Start with something simple. Set a reminder on your phone every morning at 9. When it rings, say aloud, "Thank God I'm working and I'm growing." Those words carry the essence of the formula: gratitude for the present, action in progress, expansion underway. I once shared this with a friend who had lost nearly everything. She laughed at first. "How can I say I'm growing when everything's falling apart?" But she tried it anyway. Weeks later, she told me something had shifted. Not her circumstances, at least not immediately, but her perception. The bitterness softened. The energy returned. And soon after, new doors began to open where there had been none. Because the law is simple. Speak gratitude. Move with intention, and expansion must follow. It's not superstition. It's spiritual physics. You align with the current that's been flowing since the dawn of creation. But don't just take it as theory. The power of this formula becomes undeniable when you see it alive in someone's story, in the ordinary people who turned collapse into calling, despair into abundance. And in the next chapter, I'll tell you one of those stories. A woman whose life was falling apart until 3 words changed her fate forever. Her name was Miriam, though everyone in the neighborhood called her Miri. She was in her 50s, worn by time and disappointment, her hands rough from years of work that never seemed to bring enough. Her husband had left years ago. Her children were grown but distant. When I met her, she spoke like someone whose hope had been packed away long ago. "It's fine," she said with a tired shrug. "This is just my life now." But something changed one evening at a community gathering. I shared the 3-step formula: gratitude, action, expansion, and she sat quietly, listening with arms crossed, skeptical but curious. When I finished, she walked up and said, "I can't fix my life, but I can say a sentence." The next morning, she whispered it for the first time. "Thank God I'm working and I'm growing." She repeated it again the next day and the next. At first, it felt like nothing, but soon she noticed subtle shifts. Her tone softened. She began smiling at the customers in the bakery where she worked. She started cleaning with care instead of resentment, saying quietly to herself, "I'm still growing." One day, a man she barely knew overheard her humming that phrase. He was the owner of a local cafe who had been searching for someone dependable to help manage supplies. "You sound like someone who cares," he told her. That conversation became an opportunity, and that opportunity became transformation. Within months, she had a better position, a higher wage, and something even rarer: joy. When I saw her again a year later, she looked different. Her eyes were brighter, her shoulders lighter. She said, "Do you want to know what changed everything? It wasn't luck. It wasn't money. It was the way I spoke to life. The moment I stopped saying it's fine and started saying I'm growing, everything began to grow with me." Miriam's story isn't just about material prosperity. It's about energetic wealth, the kind that expands every area of your life. She hadn't learned business strategies or spiritual secrets. She'd simply aligned her words with divine law. Her story proves something sacred, that heaven responds to honesty and movement. When your words reflect faith instead of fear, and when your actions mirror that faith, creation rearranges itself in your favor. The laws of abundance aren't mystical, they're mechanical. And here's the beauty. This formula doesn't belong to one religion, one person, or one moment in time. It's a universal truth hidden in the DNA of creation. Whether you call it God, source, or the universe, the principle is the same. Gratitude opens, action activates, expansion flows. But wisdom isn't complete until it's integrated. Knowing the formula is one thing, living it is another. The next step is learning how to make it your spiritual rhythm, how to turn daily life into sacred motion. And in the next chapter, we'll weave it all together. How to live in the constant flow of creation where every word, act, and breath becomes a bridge between crisis and abundance. The universe is not static. It's a conversation in motion. Creation didn't happen once, it's happening now in every word spoken, every choice made, every breath drawn. The ancient sages called this ongoing creation, the idea that God didn't simply create the world and walk away. He continues to sustain it through the vibration of his words. And because we are made in his image, our words too carry that same power. That means every day you are speaking your world into existence. The question isn't whether you're creating, but what you're creating. Are your words calling in life or echoing fear? Are you expanding with gratitude or shrinking with resignation? When you understand that everything is dialogue, even your pain becomes part of the conversation. Crisis stops being the end of your story and becomes a chapter in your co-creation with the divine. That's the foundation of Jewish prosperity, not material gain, but alignment with the flow of creation. When you live in that rhythm, blessings stop being random. They become inevitable. Let's look again at the 3 steps. Gratitude is your tuning fork. It aligns your energy with the source. Action is your participation. It proves to heaven that you're serious about your prayer. Expansion is the natural result. It's the universe's way of saying, I heard you. This isn't philosophy. It's the architecture of spiritual reality. When you live this way, crisis doesn't disappear, but it changes shape. It becomes movement. What once felt like loss becomes reorganization. What felt like delay becomes preparation. The broken pieces begin to form new patterns, more intricate than before. I've seen it in my own life and in countless others. When you stop asking, why is this happening to me, and start asking, what is this trying to make of me? You align with divine intelligence. Suddenly, even pain has purpose. Even endings have direction. So here's your challenge. Live the formula consciously for 7 days. Every morning say aloud, thank God, I'm working and I'm growing. Every time something goes wrong, find one sentence of gratitude, one action you can take, one area where you can stretch just a little beyond comfort. Observe how the energy around you begins to shift. Because prosperity isn't something you receive, it's something you reveal. It's not about attracting wealth from outside, but awakening the abundance that's been waiting inside you all along. And yet, even this isn't the end. Because there's a layer deeper still. A truth that takes you beyond words, beyond formulas, into the quiet power that moves creation itself. It's the secret behind the silence between your sentences, the unspoken language that speaks straight to the divine. In the next and final chapter, we'll step into that mystery, the place where gratitude becomes presence, and where every crisis transforms not just into wealth, but into wisdom. We've walked through words, through action, through the rhythm of creation itself. But now we arrive at the silence between those words, the space where true power lives. Because beneath every prayer, every sentence, every sound, there is something deeper, intention. In Hebrew mysticism, they call it kavanah, the heart's direction. You can say all the right words, perform all the right acts, but if your intention is absent, the energy scatters. The universe responds not to noise, but to alignment. Words are the vessel, but intention is the light that fills it. When you speak gratitude but secretly feel fear, heaven hears the fear. When you act boldly but carry doubt inside, the motion loses its magnetism. But when your words, actions, and heart move together, when gratitude, effort, and faith share the same vibration, creation bends toward you. It can't not. Because you've become a reflection of the same unity that spoke the world into being. That's the real secret of Jewish wisdom. Prosperity isn't something you chase, it's something you remember. You were created in the image of the Creator, designed to manifest through word, motion, and heart. You don't beg for light, you uncover it. You don't escape crisis, you transform it into expansion. So before you go, I want you to take a single, sacred breath. Inhale deeply, whisper quietly, even if only in your mind. Thank God I'm growing. Feel how the air fills your lungs, how your chest expands, how your pulse steadies. That moment, simple, silent, sincere, is creation happening inside you. And now, let me leave you with a blessing. May the Lord bless you and guard you. May his light shine upon you and give you peace. May your words create harmony, your actions ripple with purpose, and your silence hum with divine presence. Because the real wealth isn't found in gold or comfort, it's found in awareness. The wisdom to see every ending as a beginning, every loss as preparation, every breath as a bridge between heaven and earth. Now, pass this light forward. Share this message with 3 people who need to remember their own power to rise, to rebuild, to create. Not because the world needs another video, but because someone out there is standing in their own ashes, waiting to hear that crisis is not their curse, but their calling. And as you close this chapter, know this: the story isn't over. In the silence after these words, something ancient continues to move through you, the same creative pulse that formed the stars. You're not done. You're becoming.